Yeah, I put it one.
Hi, kia ora, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, I'm sure most of you have at one stage or another. I'm Grant. Thank you, Edward, for getting me up and running. I'm just the co-pilot. He's this aircraft you'll be flying on today. We're recording this, so I'll mute the call now, and then we'll begin. And there might be a few people coming on as we progress, so we'll just treat them as latecomers and see if we can bring them up to speed as we go. So I'll mute everyone now. Now you should still be able to hear me okay. Yep, thumbs up. Great. Okay. Well, kia ora. So task 2 of the Stop Smoking Practitioners program, it's about Maori principles and values, which leads on to task 3, which is Pacific principles and values. And the reason that these assignments or these assessment tasks are embedded in SSPP is a lot to do with the qualification working towards a New Zealand certificate in health and wellbeing level 3. So there's 3 or 4 assessment tasks that are compulsory for all people doing the certificate, the New Zealand certificate in health and wellbeing. And some of the people who are required to do this work are workers who are in hospital settings, people who sterilise equipment in medical institutes, caregivers for residential settings, old people's homes, retirement villages, things like that. So there's about 30,000 people who are currently logged in with Career Force and working through assessments. So understanding cultural protocols for a setting such as New Zealand is really, really important when you're working in a health setting. So that's why these particular tasks are embedded in the Stop Smoking Service, the Stop Smoking Practitioners program. So it's not a very long assignment, and there's a lot of really good resources that are available to help you through this if you're a bit unsure of what the questions are asking you. So we're going to have a look at those today. So right now, I can open websites and look at different things and share them with you. It's a bit laborious going through the processes, but I'll open the NTS website now, and I'll just run you through a bit of that. So here we go now. So this is our NTS website. Most of you would have looked at this. So nts.org.nz, that's up here. So one of the things I'll just show you, and we did this quickly last week, so I'll just run through it again. It's under here, this is the SSPP, the Stop Smoking Practitioners Program. And if you go down to the frequently asked questions, it's got all the information about how this program actually works, the different components like the New Zealand Certificate in Health and Wellbeing. You can check that out, what you're actually going to achieve when you've completed the tasks. The 3 different versions, you'll see there's the full program, which is 8 assessment tasks. If you've done prior learning, we can put you on the fast track program and recognise your qualifications that you've achieved in the past, reducing the number of assessment tasks you'll need to do to complete the SSPP. And the version for health professionals, so those people who already have a medical degree or registered nurses, they do a version of the course that recognises their tertiary qualifications, and so on and so on. So if you've got a couple of minutes to have a look through that at some stage, then it's got a lot of good information. So the graduates too, we showed this, it's quite interesting now. There's the list of all the people who have completed the SSPP. And I said last week that it's becoming quite valuable now as service providers are looking for trained staff. So they're looking for people who can step into a stop smoking role and without the need to spend a year doing further training. So it's becoming a sought after qualification. So I'll go back to the home page, log in. So this is where the learning platform is. It's quite slow. So I'll get me up. Usually it's your first name with a lower first letter and then your secret password. And I'll sign in. So here we are. We're in the website that only candidates for the SSPP can access once you've enrolled. And the first thing I'm going to do is go down here to the library. So here's our stop smoking resources. You'll notice that there's the handbooks that you should have been given at the training hub, either in hard copy if you enrolled a few years ago, or on a data stick. And they're pretty much everything that you need to have access to work on some of the later assessment tasks. In publications, there's some really great learning guides. So this is the one we covered last week, A Learner's Guide to Professional and Ethical Behaviour, and this is the one we're going to do today. So if I open this one, can you see that, Edward? No, I'll have to stop sharing and come back. Here we go. So in here, this is the learning guide for candidates that Career Force has developed. As I said, this particular assessment task, Maori Principles and Values, is one of the core assessment criteria from Career Force. So it's quite wordy, but pretty much all the information in here will help you to do task 2 of the SSPP. It's got all the information you need about why it's important that as practitioners we understand the treaty and how we apply that when working with Maori. Talks about the articles of the treaty, different versions, and then we move on to culturally safe operating principles. And it comes down to 1989 Department of Justice, where they identified the operating principles that helps us understand the intentions of the Treaty of Waitangi in today's society. And they talk about the 3 Ps, so partnership, participation, and protection. And then the learning guide goes on to explain about those things. How you apply it in your work role, how you as a worker would apply it. And then as we scroll right down, you will see that there's a glossary of terms that you can look at that describe values in Te Ao Māori. So it's all good stuff, and it's really worth reading. That will really help you along. So I'll jump out of that now and go back into the website. He says, look at. So now I'm going to go into the classroom. And this is where you find all the assessment tasks. So the one we're looking at today, Maori Principles and Values. And there's two active links under that. If we have a look at Module 2, this is a little quick series of slides that can get you started. It's more information about the task ahead. So you can have a look through these in your own time. But it's just a bit of a rundown about what it means to work in partnership with Maori clients. And that's it. So you can have a look through that, work through it. Also on the screen, you'll see more resources that can help you with this assessment task. And once again, from Career Force, more information for you to look at. So basically, there's a lot of info on the website that you can get access to that will explain in really easy to understand ways some of the complexities in this assessment task. Back to the website now. Oh, here we are. So this is the assessment task. I've made a mistake here. Excuse me, I'll just go back again. It is the website. It's lost. Must be here. Okay. I'll have to go back. Here we are. So if I go back into the classroom again, Maori Principles and Values. Here is the assessment. Download that. Only I'm seeing that, so I'll start again. It is a bit clunky. So this is what the assessment task looks like. So when you're about to start work, you get to read a bit of information about what you need to do on it. Your first name and last name, your email address, and the date you worked on this. And the next few pages is more information that's taken from the Career Force Learning Guide we've just looked at. So it's put up there as another prompt for answering some of the questions for you. So it's just a copy out of the Career Force Learning Guide. And here comes the first question. So select 2 Maori values from the following list and describe how they relate to the articles of Te Tiriti o Waitangi. So it's talking here, we want to get your understanding of the treaty and how some of the values that affect our work are embedded in the treaty. And here's the values here. So you might pick any one of these, whakapapa, and then that will go in here. And then next to that, you'll talk about how whakapapa relates to the articles of the treaty. And if you get a little bit lost with that, you can come up and look at the treaty. And what we've done to make this a little bit more informative for you, is that we've taken a really good example from a past student who was really, really into his Māoritanga. And some students, we talk at the hub where we don't need a lot of information because these assessment tasks are at level 3. We just need to know that you understand Maori principles and values and why they are important in your work. But some students, it's their passion, and so they'll write a lot of information really, really well. And this past student has done that. So I'll open that up and we'll have a look. And it's a really good example of how this might be done. Okay, so you'll see the student's name was Buckwheat Rascal. Not really, I changed that to protect the innocent. So here we go, we're seeing all the same stuff again. So question 1. Select 2 Maori values from the following list and describe how they relate to the articles of the treaty. So this student has picked whakapapa, and so his answers are: Article 1 reflects this by enabling the ongoing rights to preserve heritage and tikanga through generations. Article 2 reflects this, and so on and so on and so on. So really great answers, clearly meets the standard required. He's read the material, he knows the stuff, and it's correct. So you'll see the assessor here has ticked that as sufficient. So 1 value, 2 values. So you'll need to read the articles, think about it a little bit, and then put your answers in. It has to be in your own words. The temptation is that you can cut and paste from the learning guides, but the assessors will realise that cut and pasting has been occurring and it's not in your own words, so your own knowledge. So then you'll just be asked to do it again in your own words. So question 2, describe the relationship between culturally safe Maori operation principles and the articles of the treaty. Article 1, partnership is the building block that allows Maori to be included in all stages of program development. This starts from the beginning, being included on what is important and prioritises these, and be aware that Maori should be able to decide what these priorities to wellness are. So the key here is he's talking about partnership, participation, and protection, the 3 Ps, and they're all really great answers. Question 2, how do the functions your workplace offers relate to Maori principles and values? And this will be different for everybody. And when you work in a lot of you probably remember years ago when health in New Zealand was predominantly run by qualified Pākehā, and Maori principles and values and Pacific principles and values were almost never put forward as a way to interact with communities as well as we could. And so the functions of workplaces have changed, or they should have changed. And so we no longer get people who come into meetings and say things like, I'm very busy, I'm running this meeting, there will be no karakia this morning, whakawhanaungatanga takes far too much time, we're just going to get on with it. Okay, that sort of thing is disappearing. A lot of you will be aware of this in stop smoking services, where you might be getting referrals for Maori clients, and you go around to see them or you call them, and the client will say, look, I just told the doctor that I wanted to see a coach to get him off my back. And that's because the GPs, a lot of them don't offer partnership in these deals. So they do the ABCs as, you smoke, you need to stop. I'm referring you because it's the best thing you can do to your health. And they go, okay. With there's no partnership. They don't participate in this procedure whatsoever. They're offered no protection. Do they want to do this? Is it going to work for them? Have they tried it before? So your functions in your workplace, talk about those. And it'll be things like when we start a meeting, we have a karakia. When visitors come, we provide kai. And just the things that you would normally do to make sure that Maori principles are valued in your workplace. So the policies, how do the policy your workplace offers relate to Maori principles and values? You might have to hunt around in your policy manuals or in your workplace server to find these policies. Some places don't have them. That's okay. You can say we don't have written policies, but we are expected to do these things. So like working together with hapu, iwi and whānau and Maori communities to develop strategies for improving health status of Maori. How do the procedures your workplace offers relate to Maori principles and values? So what do? You can talk about that in terms of our service works with Maori in this particular way to get these particular results. So Maori have been a part of designing our service. We have kaumātua who can come in if we have complaints about our service and resolve it in an appropriate, culturally safe Maori way, things like that. So all the procedures that your workplace requires you to do when working with Maori. 5, write a few sentences to describe how you, as one of the employees at your workplace, apply culturally safe Maori operating principles and values when you are working with your clients. So this is what you do as an individual. Like, what do you care about? What do you think is important when you're working with a Maori client? Some people have never had a Maori client because they may work in a very rural area of the lower South Island, for example. So we ask those people to write what you would do if you're working with Maori clients. Question 6, how do you promote partnership for Maori? So this student here has said co-design is used to plan strategies this is his workplace, I've blanked out to keep his privacy. Co-design is used to plan strategies to increase smoke-free outcomes for its community. This means that from the beginning, Maori are included in all stages of our strategic development, and so on and so on. So partnership for Maori, with Maori, is then developed. Protecting the values of Maori are important. We have kohiri for all new staff that are employed. Te Reo is protected with an experienced Maori health team that advises on correct terminology. So you can see these are quite good answers. Participation. And then the final question, question 9, it's really about what you think is the value of using culturally safe principles and considering these values within your organisation. So how does it affect your role and what you do? And so this student has said the results of this service being acceptable, accessible and usable, the smoke-free service referral rates went from 37 referrals in 12 months to 436. So they're really outstanding statistics. So they've obviously made a really concerted effort to include Maori in the development of a service that is predominantly for Maori, and the statistics speak for themselves. So that's pretty much the whole assignment right there. Question 10 is a lot of the assignments in the SSPP, it needs to be signed off by your manager. So when you've finished all this work, it'll get signed off, and that's a career force requirement, because the point being that
can you see
your manager is able to verify that you have done this, it's your work, it's your original work, and if we have a problem with it as assessors, we can ring the manager and say, can you verify that you signed this and this is the original work of the client? So it's a career force thing, and they use it for moderation purposes as well, to make sure that us as assessors are not playing favourites, we're not passing some people when they should have failed because we like them, all of that sort of stuff. Okie doke. So I'll jump out of here now. And I'll bring Edward back on and possibly unmute you for some questions. Are you all right?
Yeah, there was someone just joining us.
All right. You should be all on now. So that was a pretty fast run through. How is everybody feeling about that?
Good. Really, really good, yeah.
Yep. Okay, so you know where the resources are? You can have a read through those.
That's the first bit.
That's the first bit. Yeah.
I missed the first bit, sorry. A bit late.
Oh, okay, well, look, don't worry about that. So what we've done is we've recorded this session. So when we finish this, so if you've just joined us, I just had a phone call from Tussie and them down in the South Island, and they've just joined. So it doesn't matter that you've just joined, because we've actually recorded this session. When we finish this, we'll upload it to our YouTube account. The easiest way to access it is probably to just Google YouTube SSPP Zoom webinar.
Oh, you already wrote it down.
So we'll
Sorry,
see.
Edward, could you say that again?
Yeah, sure. I'm going to, well, actually, I'll type it into everybody. So if you just Google, I want to send that out, YouTube SSPP Zoom webinar, then last week's one will come up. I've just messaged it to everybody. You'll see in the chat.
Yeah.
So if you Google that, last week's one is up there already, and then once we've finished this, we will upload that up to that as well. So when you Google that, you'll get the NTS logo will come up, but I will label it sort of with today's Maori specific values, Maori values and principles with today's date, so you'll know which one to click on. Last week's was number 1, this week's will be number 2. And then you'll be able to re-watch it, pause it, listen to what Grant has to say. And if you need anything also too, you can email us or call us. So we're always available to be able to answer any questions or take any calls. So never feel that if you get stuck with anything, then the best thing for you to do is to message us so that we can help you through it. Kapai?
Yes, that sounds good.
Here's our email address. Happy to take calls and emails to help you through whatever you need. Okay. Any other questions?
Sorry, Hira's left, but she just wanted to know at the beginning of the assessment, you talked about putting the date that you at the beginning of the assessment. She was just asking is it the date that you finish it or the date that you start, in case you take few days to do it.
Yeah.
How does that work?
You can put the date on the date you finish. It takes a few days. That's fine. The date is mainly for us when we're assessing that.
Okay.
It doesn't sit there for months and months and months. So we can see the date and say, oh, that's 2 weeks overdue. We need to get that done. Yes.
Okay. Thank you for that.
No worries.
I think her other question was, we don't get many Maori clients. what do you do? But I think you've answered that during yeah.
So that answer to that question is you write about what you would do.
Yes. Yeah.
If I had Maori coming in, this is what I would do.
Yeah.
And we can assess it on that, because we're looking at your knowledge and your skill in your role. So you need to provide the evidence that that you have this knowledge and this skill, so we can assess it.
I think that background information is probably good, because let's say that for some reason, if you ever were employed with another organisation that might have Maori clients, then actually you'd be able to use that there.
And one other thing that she wanted to know, is it possible to get the contact details of those people who are qualified or, graduates from the course? Because you had a list. Is it possible to get the contact details for some of for those practitioners?
Okay, so maybe the best thing to do there is then maybe we can take we'll take that conversation offline and
okay.
Because like some of those practitioners who are now on the list are now working with other organisations. So some of the people who are currently on there, I mean, I just had a message from somebody this morning who's now taken a new job in another organisation. So in terms of the information that we had, she has been out of the loop for a little while. So it's about kind of the practitioners keeping us informed and us updating our database. So we can help, but I know with a few of them, people have sort of moved out of, for other workplaces, or they've moved to another area in the country. So we can assist that way, but I'll send here an email.
Yeah, thank you for that.
Right.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
No, that's all good. Thank you, guys. Appreciate that.
You're very welcome.
Lovely. Thank you.
Great.
I'll get the assignments in soon.
Awesome. Look forward to it.
Thank you.
So in terms of sort of this, before we go, just a reminder, those learning guides, the learning guides that Grant alluded to, when you open the assessment, anything that we ask you to read and download should give you the information to answer what the assessment's asking for. So, you've got all those resources in the library which you can access, but actually there were also the links on what you need or what you can assist you in answering your assessments. So don't forget to use those. If you've got any questions, I've already put through on the chat our phone numbers, our email addresses, so feel free to use us. Next week, we're going to be working on Pacific Principles of Value. So actually, it might be an idea, I don't know if you've already done it, but actually download documents so that when we're going through, actually sort of just make some notes. Downloading you can make some notes in and around that on the document, so that when you're filling yours out, you've got something to work on. So I think that's it. You've got the place to look for if you need to Google the webinar. We're going to upload this one this afternoon. As soon as we get off here, we'll give it a go. But if there's any other questions, or if there are no questions, we might sign off. So
lovely. Thank you for that.
Thank you, guys.
Thank
See you next week.
Look forward to seeing you next week. Take it down.
Thank you.
Take it.
Yeah.
Love the bunny ears there, Grant.
Okay.
That thing.